Could I just make a few comments about my participation in this evening is about adani, and it's about country. And it's about what are we, as Australians, going to do to stop that mine from going ahead. And in that mix, it is, I totally agree, it's not only about the Great Barrier Reef, it's about my identity as an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander person. It's about my native title rights that have been eroded through this process. It is about you and me, the need for us and our children to have water in the future. Last year I came and saw a fracking movie, the movie Fracking here, and another one of my countrymen, Juru, stood up and said, this is the first time in Australia where we all have to come together united, because it is our country and it's our water that's going to be affected, and every human being needs water. So it doesn't matter whether you work for Great Barrier Reef or you belong to the Conservation Party or you're an Aboriginal person from up here or down there. But this is the first time in Australia we need to grow as a nation and stand up and be counted as a nation. Not for our individualism, but for our collectivism. And if we don't do that, then we're going to be stuffed right from the start. We need to not look at each other as black and white, or I've got native title, you don't, or, you know, we need to come together. And you know what? I see that's going to be a bigger fight for us than against Adani, if we're not willing to come together to fight this one cause. And then I think Australia can call themselves a mature country. You know, this fight is a bigger fight, and we've heard that on there. But let's stop all the rhetoric. Let's stop all the bullshit. Because you see in my country there, you see in that big hole in the ground, do you think that looked good to me when I was sitting down there? No, I thought, what the, you know, shit is that? We've got to stop it. This country and the world is going to shit, and we're too busy still worrying about the politics on the ground. We need to lift the bar, get smarter than them. The government is not there anymore to represent us, so we'll better start taking control and, you know, working through those issues. You know, we have native title rights. I've seen that, you know, in the documentary. We got native title rights. But the whole process of the legislation, the way it is really to extinguish my rights, the process. So when I talked initially, I was a bit upset coming off the back of that doco. I think it's a great documentary. But we were given our native title rights in 2014. In 2015, I was sitting in a meeting up here with the adani, with some of our people in bed with the adani. People that we had marched onto Parliament House with, that we'd broken down the doors of the new Parliament House with, were sitting in there asking adani what they could do together. And I was horrified. And when I asked the questions, as Jim said, then I was ostracised. So to this day, the body that holds our native title right still has not accepted my membership or my siblings' membership to that, because I asked too many questions.
Whoa.
The government, when we got our native title rights, in the court proceedings, the judge kept on making it very clear. He said, there's an organisation called Juru Enterprise Limited, which was set up. He said, I can't tell you who's on that committee. I can't tell you anything about it. He said, but what I can tell you is they were given a substantial amount of money, but I don't know who the board is, what it's made of what it's for. And he said, now we'll give you your native title rights will be held with your prescribed body corporate, which is an organisation called Kybera. So after all of that, I was really excited. Can you imagine somebody who's dedicated her entire life in Aboriginal affairs to get my native title rights? I just felt really happy that afternoon when the court handed that down. But when I jumped on the bus to travel back to Townsville, I thought, and we had had a cup of tea after all of this, I'd asked a few people, including our own mob, I said, who's on gel? Who's that mob that got all the money there? Nobody knew anything. So what I'd worked out, so over the course of the following 6 to 8 months, I had to find out who that group of people were, what they got the money for, how they were given the money, and I found out that the government, or some years before, a group of people were set up to take this a certain amount of money, which I wasn't privy to at the time, to find out how much that was. I don't know where that money's gone. But you know what I realised? I thought, yeah, get the people at the people who have high unemployment, get people who are at the bottom of the ladder in this country, give them a bucket of money that would look quite substantial to a people who have the highest unemployment, and that would look really, really promising. And that's one way that Adani has weaseled their way into our country without anybody asking questions. They've given them a little bit of crumbs, our mob, and because we're at the bottom of the rung, of course that's going to look appealing. And I don't blame our mob, but I just say that's how the evilness of that group is. Then they give us our native title to then come up a month later. And the part that they came and negotiated with us was the crucial part, the last bit of the rail link going into Abbott Point. It was a couple of kilometres. And we traded that off. They extinguished our native title on that for probably a wage of someone for a week. That's about the amount of money we got for that couple of kilometres of rail. And yet it was the crucial part of stopping that mine from going ahead, and we couldn't do that. And one of my family members said, well, if you don't move a motion at this meeting or support the motion, the government's just going to come in and take that anyway. And I thought, I'd got my native title rights a month before, and the following month, Adani's sitting here in Cairns, talking to all of our mob in the room, and everyone supporting that, for this couple of kilometres of rail link and extinguishing our native title over that. And I had to sit there and be made to think, well, that I should feel good about that because it's only a couple of kilometres. I said, I don't care if it's a friggin' toenail. I'm not giving up none of my native title rights. I just got it and I'm going to hold on to it. So I've had to work and oppose that. But they went right throughout Queensland. They went up and down the coast. Consultation, they called it. They only talked to a couple of people. Because when I left and I went outside to the community and asked how many people they consulted, I found out there was more people that were disgruntled with Adani than there were on the inside accessing the little bit of money that they gave them. And I said to my family, they said, oh, but we need jobs. I said, you can get jobs. Why don't you look at renewables? You don't need to go down to a mining company because you're not going to get a job there. It's going to be all electronics and technology. You got the education? No, because the government hasn't over the years invested in our people anyway in that regard. So we're not going to be getting too many jobs there. We might be cleaners for a little while, but you're going to end up with nothing. So, you know, even to convince our people to think differently. A campaign going forward, I've come to a few of these things. There's only 4 or 5 blackfellas in this room, and yet it's our country that's being affected, our native title rights. You know, it's all of our country, but we, the first peoples of this nation. And, you know, whatever campaign goes forward needs to include our mob.
Yeah.
And, you know, we need more of our people to come on board. But they're being bought off by mining companies. And we need to understand that and understand why without, you know, judging our mob. But we need to engage them. There's a young group of Indigenous people against climate change through the SEED project, Amelia Telford. I heard her talk at the Melbourne conference. You know, so trying to get those young people to come around and get more people here to these places. The last time I come, there was only 2 of us, I think, here, or 3. So we really need to get more Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people engaged. I think that's another challenge that we have for a way forward. Because if it's only white fellas standing up talking about country, that's not going to work for me, and that's not going to work for our mob. You know, we got a voice, we've campaigned in this country, we got good campaigning skills. You know, we got people who are willing to do that, but we need all to be brought on board, you know, in a way that's cohesive and, you know, that we all respect where we are as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people too. You know, so I think that's what I wanted to say tonight.
Yeah. Thank you, Nerelle. It's absolutely right. You know, black and white, we're all custodians of this country and we've got to work together. Yeah, a question here.
Okay, I'm Terry Spackman. I'm 78 years of age, and you know, I believe fear is a great motivator, and I'm fearful for the future of my grandchildren and their children, because I feel so grateful for you know, for this, having the privilege of living in this world and this country, and I see bit by bit it being destroyed. And you know, and one of the things I was going to ask, well, the main question I was going to ask now is probably Rob's the one to answer it. Is, you know, there's been talking about jobs. Now, how much influence has the unions have over this the Queensland government in making this decision to back this mine?
Look, I don't think the unions have been a driving force behind this. But Terry, you've raised an issue that that Nerelle talked about as well, and that's one of intergenerational equity. This greed mentality of making hay while the sun shines is unsustainable, and we just can't consume it all now. What will be the cost to our children, our grandchildren and their children? We're going to compromise their capacity to make a living in the future with our greed today. Just on the unions, I don't, like the CFMEU has not, if they were to come out against this, that would be a very powerful thing, I think, and I wish they would. But on the issue of jobs, I think we've got to stop saying, like, some of us have been saying, oh, well, it's now only going to create 1,000 jobs. What we should say is, bearing in mind the Great Barrier Reef generates 70,000 jobs, we should say Adani will actually create negative 69,000 jobs, because we know that damage to the Great Barrier Reef will cost those jobs on the reef, because no one's going to come to see a bleached reef.